Helen Tarrant here, Commercial Property Roadshow. This episode I'm going to show you what's the difference between tenanted and vacant property. So which one should you go for? You know, because there's always a question, should I buy something that's vacant or should I buy something that's tenanted? And you know, we always talk about strategy and what you should be looking for and what your strategy is, but let me show you the difference between a tenanted and a vacant property. So this one here outside, I'm here at a vacant property. Look, the glass is a bit frosted over and you can't really see, but if we peer inside, you can see that it's all pretty much vacant, and it's just got painted walls. Sometimes you have some partitions in there and most of the floors are undone. So what you find with these type of properties is that it's not going to generate you an income to start with. So what that means is that you're going to have to take money out of your own pocket to actually support the property. But the great thing about this is that you will get massive increase in value of this property once you put a tenant in there. So that is your upside. So why would you buy a vacant property? So for most people, when they're looking at buying a vacant property, what they're looking for is future potential. So vacant properties, you're buying future potential. So what's this area like? How likely are you to get a tenant? What's the current refurbishment like? So maybe the previous tenants has left, they've painted the property, you've got some carpeting there, and you've got some basic lighting. You might not need a lot to actually spruce this place up so it looks great for the next tenant. So you might need you to change some lights, might need a bit of another coat of paint, just sort of tidy it up so the next lot of tenants can come in really easily. Maybe the previous vendor has not tried to find a tenant. For whatever reason it is, the property is vacant, but it might be in an area that has very little vacancies, and it might be in an area that's really in demand because you've got tenants next door that might be allied health, medical, or professional type tenants, and this is the only vacant one there. So for you, buying a vacant property, you can buy it much cheaper than a tenanted property, but also you can buy it at a lower price than what's advertised on the market, because when you have a vacant property, most vendors are stressed and they're wanting to sell it. So this is your great time to get in there and nab a bargain. So if you nabbed a bargain, what do you do next? Well, the biggest thing you have to do with a vacant property is actually go out and find a tenant. So your biggest focus when you have a vacant property is how long is it going to take to find a tenant. And that requires you to do some due diligence and some groundwork. And that may mean calling agents, that may mean finding out what prospective tenants will work in there, might be going out and working out what kind of fit out will work in there as well, and spending some time working out the marketing and spending money on the marketing. Because it could be that they're telling you it takes 6 months to put a tenant in there, but then it takes you only 1 or 2 months to put a tenant in there because you knew and you found out through your research what kind of fit out you can do, what kind of tenants you can attract, what kind of marketing you can do. And that means that this property starts producing income for you in a short space of time, and the value of the property grows because now it has a tenant in there and it becomes a sought after set and forget property. So then if you have to go through all this trouble to get a tenant and buy a vacant property, should you just invest in a set and forget property? Well, let's come and have a look at a tenanted property. So here we can see that we've got, along this strip, we've got some mini marts, and then we've got a childcare centre there. But let's have a look at the mini mart down here. Now you'll also find out, I'm just walking past one of these, you'll find that, you normally with a property that's got no tenants in there, you see the outside is not beautiful as well. So this might be something you could tidy up. Definitely changing a new roller door, making it look presentable, really helps to attract a tenant. But here, you'll find that there's a mini mart here. This is a typical tenanted property. Now, it doesn't have to be a mini mart. It can be a bakery, it can be a hairdressing and nail salon, it can be, like a dentist or a vet. It can be any of those type of tenants. But one of the biggest benefits you get from a tenanted property is that you get cash flow from day one. So instead of you having to go out there and sourcing and find a tenant in that property and worrying whether you're going to get a tenant and where your cash flow is coming from, a tenanted commercial property gives you cash flow from day one. So what that means for you is that you can sit back, relax, pay the bank, and have money still left over in your pocket to support your lifestyle. So then it becomes much easier. But the downside of that is you don't get to negotiate the lease. You don't get to decide, what the tenants are allowed and not allowed to do. They've already done the fit out, and some of the fit out may not be to your standards, but you take it as it is, you take the lease as it is, and you take the tenant as it is, whatever they've done to the property. But also, it might mean that you actually are buying it at a higher price than you would buy a vacant property because it has a tenant in there and the tenant's already established and is giving you a cash flow already. already. So when you look at tenanted or vacant properties, what you're really looking at is whether you want to be the person who grows the tree and bears the fruit, so nurture for the fruit in a vacant property, or you want the person who is too busy and just wants to pick the right fruit from the tree, So that's really the essentials of a vacant and tenanted property. So tell me some more about what you want to know about vacant and tenanted. Which one do you have and which one do you prefer? So hit the subscribe button and the bell and tell me in your comments what you want to hear more in our Commercial Property Roadshow. Until next time, bye for now.